On this episode, we are talking about our return to Elden Ring ahead of the DLC, what our parents got right and wrong with our early gaming, and we have a PlayStation special on the Pixel Picks Showdown. All this and more on the Pixel Parent Podcast. Hello and welcome to the next episode of the Pixel Parents Podcast, the show that discusses all things gaming from the perspective of parents. I am your host, Liam Kelvin, and today I'm joined by, of course, Scott, the Tastemaker Curry. How are we, Scott?
I'm very well. Very close to the mic as well.
Very
no, I'm pretty good. I'm excited for the future and what we have to announce today, along with other things.
Yes.
And it's been a pretty good week. I think it's been an interesting week for video games.
Yeah, and it's been a good week at time of recording for the podcast and video games as well.
Yeah, it's been very, very, very fun. But no, I'm pretty good. I had nothing to complain about this week, so all good there. How are you?
I'm good, yeah. Same. It's been a lot of stuff to look forward to. We're going to be doing the first of some cool, exciting things this evening in the recording session. By the time this goes live, they'll be out, which is cool. And yeah, there's just a lot of stuff. It feels like for a long time this year, there hasn't been much to look forward to gaming-wise outside of the odd big release, like at the start of the year.
Yeah.
Now it starts to feel like that the fog is dissipating and we're starting to see what's in the horizon a wee bit.
Hopefully so.
Aye, I hope to Christ, get that together. It'll just be like a PlayStation 6 or something. It's like, great, more money.
Please don't do it to me.
Well, anyway, with that out the road, if you want to be a part of the podcast, of course, come and say hello. Share your thoughts with us at pixel_parents on Twitter, or write to us at pixelparentspodcast@gmail.com. Don't be shy.
Don't be shy.
Don't be shy at all. We'd love to hear from you. And of course, again, we just really appreciate all the support that you guys are giving us. I would love if you left us a wee 5-star review, of course. And thank you to everybody that has on your platform of choice. And it just helps us out. But we're seeing more and more people engage with the podcast, which is great. It's lovely. And yeah, thank you very much for that. But with that all out the road, Scott, what are you playing this week?
Oh, I've had a very, very interesting week this week.
Do go on.
So, after the Senua's saga last week, I decided that now was the time that I should play the Order 1886 for the first time.
Yes.
So
finally.
I went on eBay and bought so I looked for it online. I checked it on the PlayStation Store and it's like £25 or something like that. And I was like, I'm not spending that on it. Wow. No chance.
No chance.
So I went on eBay and I sent someone a bid for like £4. So I got it for £4.
Nice.
And it came, and I've played through that, and I have feelings and thoughts on that game. It is excellent.
Yeah.
It is.
We got him, folks. Another one.
It suffers from the same issues that Senua's Saga did, where it's short. But I felt with Saga that it was short, and I was glad that it was short.
Yeah.
Whereas with this, as you said to me before, it gets you to a point where you think, we're starting to ramp up and things are starting to move on, and then it just goes, aye, but that's us done now. It's like, what?
Aye.
What? Like,
leaves you wanting more.
It's just getting to all the stuff about the monsters and all that, and then it just literally just, walks away from you. But gunplay, fantastic. I love the setting in it. It is ripe, and I mean, like, it is perfectly placed for a sequel or anything. Like, anyone could take that on. But it was fantastic. Like, genuinely loved everything about it. Galahad is fantastic. Like, there's only so many mustaches that I can look at, but
it's superb.
I could look at that man's face for my whole life. But I would play that game again and again and again and again. The only issues that I had with it, minor, were there was too many sections where I couldn't run.
Yeah.
It forces you to walk, but then it, kind of forces you to take certain things in. But I'd like to have moved a wee bit faster.
Yeah.
And some of the combat didn't feel, chunky enough. If that makes any sense. Like, it felt like I had no.
Yeah, that's fair.
It felt like it didn't have any like punch to it. So I'd like to have seen a bit more of that. But I mean, I loved every single minute of it.
It's a great game.
It's fantastic, and it's sad that we've not seen anything more. I don't know what's happened. Was it Ready at War or something? Ready
at Dawn.
Ready at Dawn. Not entirely sure what's going on with that or anything that's happening, but it was a phenomenal game, and like, it's just sad that if they're not, if that's not something they're looking at again, or if that's an IP that's just completely gone stale now, it's a sad loss. But thoroughly enjoyed my time with it, and the price that I paid for it, gave me everything that I wanted to get from it anyway. And I would shell out for The Order 1887 or something like that. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's
honestly, like, I think time has been really kind to that game.
Yeah.
I know gameplay wise, I'm not going to sit here and say it was a 10 out of 10, but I could forgive it. The world building in it was a 10 out of 10 for me. And you're right, at the end of it felt like you just got to the end of Act 1 and you're kind of like, and you kind of see like that whole type of Van Helsing-esque thing that they're kind of introducing into it. It was just, we're so short of IPs like that now.
Yeah.
And I'm surprised that Sony aren't really taking a risk. I mean, that was probably a prime candidate for a game that you could just tweak, tighten up a little bit.
Yeah.
And then the part 2 would have just been absolutely, from a 6 out of 10 to an 8 out of 10 type thing.
100%. It's the perfect setting because it's so far in the past. You could start to build it into like future tech and stuff like that as well. There's loads of stuff you could do with it.
Yeah, and
obviously they live for centuries, so it could be The Order 1960. Do you know what I mean? Like, everyone's all peace and love. But I absolutely love my time with it, and I'm glad that I've played it. And I think it's I've had a lot of issues recently with games that I want to play, and like the inner crisis of not really wanting to delve into like larger games, because I've started The Last of Us Part 2, restarted Red Dead Redemption 2, and I've just like it's time that I can't be bothered sinking into it, so I've stopped with that. But The Order has set me on my way. After finishing that, I've now finished Animal Well as well.
Yeah.
It's good. You know what I mean? It's good. I think that it got a lot of really great reviews when it came out, and I can understand why, because it does a lot of innovative things with kind of your interaction with that world.
Yeah,
I think that your kind of best platformers and the kind of different games like that, the better ones have really interesting mechanics. And there's loads of different wee bits in that game, like the way you move around the world, like in different ways that you can solve puzzles and stuff like that are just, honestly, it's brilliant.
Well, I was just checking there as well. Like, Ready at Dawn's no longer owned
by
not? Sony, so that might explain it. But
yeah,
it's weird because I'm pretty sure there's been other games that fall into that category of like, do you know what? It was a good college try there. Let's work on it, build it up. Then part 2 is even. I mean, Assassin's Creed comes to mind, to be honest with you.
100%. Yeah.
Even though that was third party, but yeah, I'm delighted that you've managed to get through all those games. Animal Well, did that take long to finish?
It was maybe 3 or 4 hours or something like that. It really wasn't.
Really?
Long. Yeah, it's brilliant. No, it is. Right. It's it is. I would say it's a very interesting game to play. Animal Well makes it seem like it's with loads of interactions with animals, but it's not. You're kind of within this. You kind of walk around these areas that have animals in them.
Yeah.
But it's the abilities that you take on. Like, your character doesn't get like stronger or anything like that. You just pick up different ways to move around the world. So you pick up a frisbee, and sometimes dogs will try and chase you, so they throw the frisbee and it distracts them for a bit.
Yeah.
Or you can throw the frisbee, bounce it off a wall, it bounces back. You can jump on it and it carries you across kind of different areas and stuff as well. You pick up a yo-yo. You can use that to press buttons and stuff.
That's pretty cool.
You can use it to direct different animals. There's loads of different things like that. But it's really interesting. I can see why it got a lot of plaudits. But if it didn't have that in it, obviously it wouldn't be the same game. But it's not. I mean, but I wouldn't say it's like changed my life in any way. It's like it was a serviceable game and it's done a really good job. Like
Yeah.
it was good for what it was going for, and it fit that category of a shorter title that I could be bothered sitting down and playing. It took me about 2 or 3 sessions, and then that was me done with it. But I got stuck on a few points. There's a bit where a cat chases you, and honestly, I was like, that frustration where you punch yourself in the leg. I'm like, ah! Like, you get so far, pure tight jumps and stuff like that, and then it catches you, and you're just like, oh my god, I'm done with this, man. I've done that, and then obviously been sherping you through Elden Ring, which I'll let you take over for in a minute. But I was saying that before we came on, that I've made a very, very bad decision, and it's that I'm going to go back and I'm going to try and become, what's the word? I'm going to try and become competent at Street Fighter 6 again.
Oh my god. You are a glutton for punishment.
It's horrendous, man.
Well,
it's Akuma. Akuma always brings me back.
Yeah, well, I can see the appeal. That's one that's not really caught fire as much as I expected, but it's kind of always like that. I mean, the fighting game community will still be playing that to death.
Pulling it like mad. It's probably one of the highest performing games on Twitch.
Yeah.
Some of the biggest streamers in like Japan and stuff like that are still playing it. Like Daigo plays it and everything as well. And season 1 for the DLC is now done.
Yeah.
And I was shocked. There's only 4 characters.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's only Akuma, Fang Lady, Snake woman, Ed, and Rashid. So it's only 4 characters in it.
All right.
So I'm assuming that at some point in the near future we'll get an update which will tell us about season 2 and hopefully bring Sagat into the mix.
Do you know what? It's probably a good time for you to dive into that again, given, and this is probably a good segue into what I've been playing. We'll be very busy with Elden Ring for a wee while.
Yeah.
And that is what I've been playing. I think in the last episode we started it. So my previous character, Bilbo Dragons, I absolutely loved it. It must have been on New Game +5 or +6 at this point. And I became that game, back at launch. We both got the platinum on it.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun. Going back into it, I had realised I'd restarted it, and you have to beat Mog, the Lord of Blood, I think it is, who's quite a, kind of mid to late game boss, you would say. At least you'd probably like to say late game by the time you've got the equipment that you need. So, yeah, I made an ass of it. So I had to restart, and the quest was, like, how do I get myself into as good a position as possible in as short a time, because I'm not going to spend hundreds of hours like I did the last time. So I created a new character, Dolly Farton, as he's known. So you see the theme here. So I just decided, right, I'm going to do that. I'm going to go down the strength build route and just try and get myself competent, as you said, in time for the Shadow of the Erdtree DLC, which the trailer just dropped recently and it looks absolutely fantastic. So I have been employing everything, including yourself, to sharpen myself through moments. But to be honest with you, I really enjoy playing this in co-op anyway.
Yeah.
Just exploring stuff. I know we've seen it all before, but it's still not lost its magic. Just going in, fighting bosses, building that constant, like, because we're building towards the DLC, which we know it's going to kick our asses. We know it's going to do that, if any of the other previous DLCs are anything to go by. But it's just been so much fun. I mean, tonight, ahead of recording, I think I managed to, today, I've beat the Godskin Duo, I beat Mog, and I beat Sir Gideon, so I'm just at the last 2. So I think it's Horaloo, as you said, it's the big Pokemon right at the end of it. So, and then you can become Elden Lord. I think you just have to beat Mog, and you've got that mad
the arm
things, or the cocoon. So I'm ready, which is good. And that's about 19 hours. It's
not bad. It has been fun. I think that I've officially dubbed myself, so I'm the tastemaker, but I'm also now the Tenzing of Elden Ring, because I'm literally...
That rhymes.
Didn't realise that. Sudden bars. But yeah, I've been enjoying it. And taking you through that, but kind of following you through that game. Like I'm distracted by things to hit because I'm missing out on the kind of boss. I'm missing the bosses of it. So I think that I've not fought a boss in that game since the game came out.
Yeah.
Because I'm on New Game Plus. No, I don't even think I'm on New Game Plus. I think I've just
OG
it's my
character.
OG character. So you know, it's I hadn't saved the game when we restarted it. I think I started it on a new save and just saved it elsewhere. But I retained my old save, so I've been helping you through that. But when it finally clicked for me was when we were fighting. Was it Morgoth?
Oh God, yes, it was a nightmare.
And doing that through SharePlay, where I could actually do it for you, it was amazing. You know, like it gave me the feelings of old Dark Souls games and like old Bloodborne and everything like that as well. It was finally getting to that point where you're like literally crapping your pants from like any hit.
What I've found going through it, because this is the first time we've played it since I think it's patch 1.10, and they've changed a lot. So the game, the kind of meta in the game has changed. So like beforehand, I would use the toenail, as it's known, which is just this big dragon flame heavy sword thing, and that was all reliable.
Yeah.
Obviously, I don't have like any of my equipment now, which is adding an extra crease to it all because I'm not reliant. And I had like plus 25 shields and everything. I had the ultimate arsenal, as you can imagine, going through it. New game +5, +6. But I've since discovered that the katana is the way forward.
Yeah,
so I've
always
got a +25. I can't remember the name of it. It's not the best katana in the game, but since I've got it to +25, that's what's helped me through.
Yeah.
With the blood loss damage as well.
It's incredible. Like you play that game normally. The first time you play like Dark Souls 3 or Elden Ring, you know, you play it on a normal playthrough and you're just using a blunt weapon. You're just hitting them with a sword. You know what I mean? Then you realise you can put blood things on it, and then that's you. You hit them for bleed stacks or proc them and stuff like that, and it's just completely changes the way you play it.
Yeah.
You'll know with me, I've started using the frenzy stuff and all that as well, because that helps you. That helps you when people invade. So it's been great, and it is. I mean, it's probably the only game that I'd happily play through in co-op.
Yeah,
like we played that whole thing more or less twice. Because I'd help you through parts of it, you'd help me through parts of it, you know. So we'd both played through that game twice anyway.
Yeah.
So it's great fun, and you know, doing some of the boss fights and stuff with you, it's hilarious. That fire giant one the other night was brilliant. You know, having to use that stupid wee bubble.
Yeah, you
thing.
You could check our TikTok for evidence and clips of that fight. I think as well, like today, playing. I beat Malekith as well.
Yeah.
And geez, I mean, it took a good few
That's
tries.
A nightmare.
But again, a lot of these bosses, I'm like, they're so much harder than I remember. It's not. It's because I've not played it.
No, because when you played it the first time, you were using that.
Carry
the spell thing, yeah. So and you were hitting them 3 times, and that was them dead.
So good. It was like that. It was a plus 25 shield.
Yeah,
it was amazing. But...
and the mimic as well.
Oh yeah, I forgot about the mimic. Yeah. About that, I tended to use that Black Knight Tish.
Black Knight Tish he was the best.
But I think it's good because it's getting to explore a new weapon type, and I'm assuming if it's Mog related and he's weak to blood loss damage, maybe that might play into the DLC as well. So yeah, it's just making me kind of reappreciate. Not that my appreciation has ever been lost for Elden Ring, but it's how good that game is.
Yes, it's phenomenal, man.
And then once you get yourself back up and running, so I'm not the type where I can pick up these From Software games. I have to kind of go on that curve again.
Yeah.
And the last time, I think, when I platinumed Elden Ring, I went back and I platinumed Bloodborne. Long last.
Yeah.
And I'm like, damn, like, maybe once I've finished Elden Ring, I might just go back and revisit some of the Souls games, you know, just... It's a different experience altogether.
It's the worst. I love Dark Souls 1 and I love Dark Souls 2, but they're absolutely murder to play. Like, current day.
Oh, yeah. They're dated.
Yeah.
I mean, the amount of times I've went back to Dark Souls Remastered now, and this doesn't look great.
Nah, I can't face it. I love Dark Souls 3, though. Like, it's probably one of my...
Very underrated in the series.
It's fantastic. That, and I'd obviously... I'm a big sort of fan of Sekiro as well. For the platinum on that, it's absolute hilarious fun.
I still don't know how you managed to do
It's
that.
brilliant. It is.
Sekiro's the one that broke me.
It's so see when you get to a point in it where you are, it's just second nature.
Mhm.
It is fantastic. Like genuinely, would be happy for another Sekiro tomorrow. You know, but it's never going to happen.
Oh man, I mean, I think obviously we were playing Rise of the Ronin, and that did give me slight vibes. But it's not the same degree, but it's one of those ones where I think you get the bug for From Software games again.
Yeah.
And I'm really intrigued to see, because Elden Ring, it isn't the hardest in the series. Don't get me wrong, the game will still absolutely brutalise you, but you have to respect it and you have to play by its rules. We know that they're like Sekiro, difficult, Bloodborne, they've all got their kind of creases and different things to it, but I'm thinking with the DLC, you know, are they going to chuck just one or two absolutely mental bosses that we're all going to be talking about online for ages? I
think that tends to be what happens. Like looking at the sort of track record, the old Hunters DLC, you had, what was his name? The big horse face.
Was it not a Orphan of Cause?
You had Orphan of Cause, but you had the person before him as well with the Moonlight's greatsword. What's his name again?
Oh, wait a minute.
I'm going to have to Google it.
You're going to have to.
I'm going to have to Google it. But it was that was the boss that when I played
Ludwig.
Yeah. When I played that game for the first time, I got stuck on Ludwig. I had to turn the game off. Like, I was just like, I'm not playing this game for about 6 months, and then I went back and I'd done it. And it does create these bosses within it that Cause or Orphan of Cause is notorious.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? Like the bosses in Bloodborne itself are not impossible, but that one felt absolutely brutal when you were playing it. In Dark Souls 3, I never played the DLCs for them, but you had the two sort of monsters underground when you first drop in, and then the last boss, and that was Gale as well. And the boss fight for him looks absolutely brutal as well. But some of the bosses in Dark Souls 3 in the first place were hard.
Yeah.
Like I never platinumed that game ever, but I never completed that game until the day after your stag do.
Oh yeah, I remember. I remember.
And it was just because I was so rough and I had nothing else to do, so I just played that. So I think you can expect it from Elden Ring. I think that they'll have learned a lot from what people already know about it, and they'll have changed, parts of the gameplay. There'll be something new in there that they'll have never seen before.
Yeah, I mean it's exciting. I really don't know what to expect other than, how big is the area that you'll be playing in. I think, £35 for a DLC or an expansion. I'm thinking it's going to be surprising how big it might be.
I think they've said it's as big as a certain area of the map.
Well, that was a rumour that was flying about, it was debunked because somebody was saying it's the same size as Caelid.
Right, okay. Caelid isn't massive though.
Exactly. I'd be pretty disappointed if it was just the size of like Caelid or, Lunny of the Lakes. And it's also just the, expansion of that story. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and tell you the story of Elden Ring. I don't have a fucking clue at this point.
So it was debunked. So it says, Miyazaki, it's hard to answer without giving away too much and to a high degree of accuracy, but it's if not larger than the area of Limgrave.
All right, well, that's not too bad. Bad. Limgrave's probably one of the biggest areas in Elden Ring.
Yeah.
So, and I'd take that and obviously fill it with caves, catacombs, all the rest of it. That's the part I'm really looking forward to, is just going through all the nooks and crannies.
Yeah.
That
was what Elden Ring done really well, though, was that it gave you reason to explore.
Oh, it was outstanding. Like, absolutely outstanding. Like,
fight those big weird cat monsters and stuff.
I know. It's like, you don't like you can move too well.
Some of the enemies in that game look AI generated. I know they're not, but they look as if they've been made by AI.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Like the dog birds and all that, like weird dog.
The giant heads.
They look like remember in the film The Mask?
Yes.
When the dog puts the mask on. His name Eddie?
Milo.
It's Eddie's in Frasier.
I don't know how I remembered that.
That's knowledge.
Eddie was in Frasier.
But Milo puts the mask on. It looks like him.
Yeah, it does. It really does.
And then the weird cat hangs as well. It's just, aye. So I'm interested to see what they do with it.
Yeah,
I've not had much hype for it, and to be honest with you, I'm still not I'll play it. I'm not bursting from the seams, which is a bit shocking for me, but
I mean, I think it's coming together at the right point. Given,
yeah,
don't forget, maybe about 6 weeks ago we were talking on this, and it was just like the thought of it was just like insurmountable.
Couldn't remember any of the names of the places in the game, to be honest with you, like Caled and all that. Like I forgot Caled existed.
Yeah,
and like Senua's Rise and all that. I just remember where we were last night, but no, it's been a good laugh. It's just reminded me of when we've played it for the first time.
I mean, I still can't believe. I was always really proud of it because that was like the first Souls game. I think that. I mean, it's not a Souls game, but you know what I mean. It was the first one that I really rinsed.
Yeah,
and really enjoyed.
Mm-hmm.
I've always enjoyed them, but I always hit a wall where I'm like, I can't get past this.
Yeah.
And do you know what? I'm cool with that because I put a lot of time into it. Bloodborne was a game that I restarted countless times, but it was fun.
Yeah.
That world. And with Elden Ring, once I had platinumed that game, you effectively have to, well, I had to complete it 3 times because I didn't save scum because I was very stupid. Me and saves with these type of games don't work well. But I just remember like knowing the route to take, like the golden path of that game, all the main bosses, and I think by the 3rd time I did it, I must have did it in about 5 or 6 hours or something.
Ridiculous.
I'm not joking. But I was way overpowered.
Yeah,
Like,
well, that's the reason why then.
Exactly, but it was fun because it was just like it was a means to an end. So it's like I need to get that trophy, and then once I got it, straight into Bloodborne, happy days. But yeah, it's exciting times. But on that note as well, by the time this episode goes live, you should see our new podcast appearing in your feed, which is Pixel Reacts. So please don't forget to check that out. Basically, Pixel Reacts is where we are going to be sharing our thoughts and reactions to the biggest gaming events and moments throughout the year. So you can check out our reactions just now on there to PlayStation State of Play event, Xbox Game Showcase, and the Summer Games Fest as well, opening night on your podcast platform of choice. What do we think of it? I don't know because we've not done it yet. But
bold prediction: Bloodborne 2 is announced. Hideo Kojima makes Metal Gear Solid 6 and give me something else. Throw something at me.
Oh, Doom.
Doom.
There you go.
That's Doom. Dune.
Oh, wait. I have one. Right. Microsoft buys
Sony. So
Yeah,
you've heard it here first. You've heard it here or
and
second.
Nintendo.
Xbox buys everything,
and it's all coming to Game Pass.
Oh, it's all coming to Game Pass, and like you will, yeah. This is what we're reacting to.
That's it. But it's going to be a fun space for us to do that. Something that you're going to get as it happens, which is fun. It's something to look forward to.
That is the mind of mental gamers when you have these different events and stuff like that. Like your head goes everywhere.
Oh God!
There's not a PlayStation event that I'm not thinking that Bloodborne 2 is going to get announced, and it might never. It'll never get announced. I'm convinced that game will never exist.
There's plenty of rumours on it. The one that I find most plausible is that they're keeping it for a PlayStation 6 launch.
Regardless.
Remake like they did Demon's Souls.
It's that Charlie Day and, It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia thing where it's just like strings across the walls and all that. You become a bit like that with these events. But hopefully by the time that you're listening to this and that we've reacted to it, we're happy with the results.
Yes, it'll be fun either way. There's going to be at least one thing for each of us and more for all of us that we'll like. That's it.
I just want more farming simulators, please.
I'm just delighted that Call of Duty's on Game Pass. It saved me 70 quid.
Yeah, exactly.
Just keep doing that and I will be very happy. Just keep putting stuff on there that I go, that saved me a trip to game, thank you. Or a trip to the game collection. Shout out to them. But it's one of those ones where the value just double down on it.
Yeah.
Even though we talked about it last week and it might cheapen the value of it. I mean, it could end up being the harbinger of the end of Call of Duty because that value might not be tied so much to it.
It's hard to see. No, it's not hard to see because obviously, skins and everything have become the money. You know what I mean? Like the skins and like Warzone and everything like that. That's where they're making their money now. It'd be interesting to see from an income standpoint and from like a profit standpoint where most of the profit or anything comes for Call of Duty.
I would be intrigued to see if what the drop in players, or if there is a change from PlayStation to Xbox this year.
Yeah, that would be, yeah.
Because, I mean, don't get me wrong, I would prefer to play it on PlayStation because I could play with my DualSense Edge. So the way I play Call of Duty is completely changed using the paddles. So I'm going to have to go back to the vanilla controller and the Xbox. But hey ho, first world problem. You know, it's all it is.
Join us, peasants.
Join us indeed. Well, anyway, I think we should get on to the main topic of this week's show. So we've got something which is a little bit fun. I actually quite like this topic. It's got me looking back and I'm all nostalgic.
Oh.
But really it is asking ourselves, you know, what did our parents get right or wrong when it came to gaming, and what advice would we give them today? So Scott, anything that you want to kick things off with in terms of what your parents got right or wrong for young Scott,
for young
his gaming
Scott
career?
So I was thinking about like the past, and there's always just games that just like arrived. I don't remember ever going out and buying a game that was like 18 and being like, "Oh, can I have this? Can you buy me this, please?" But that was also in the time where you were renting games and stuff like that as well. You know, like we've spoken about that a million times. But renting games was just chef's kiss.
It was a lifeline.
It was, and for families that, you know, couldn't necessarily afford to go out and buy a brand new game, it was an expensive hobby. So having these things where you could go and rent a game for like £1 or like 50 pence or something, it was class.
Aye.
£2 or whatever. But I was thinking about games that I remember from my past that just like showed up. Because obviously I had a brother, and he was big into playing games and stuff like that as well. So I think that by osmosis, I was then, you know, learning that through him, and there was never any input from my parents that were like, maybe you shouldn't actually be here while he's playing that or whatever. Like,
yeah, they're quite happy to just let you watch it.
Let me watch it. Aye, so like Mortal Kombat 3 is like Mortal Kombat Trilogy is the game that always comes up, and you know all the outrage from that game when it came out. You know, like, but my parents just didn't care. And I think that's, a lot of people would see that as a bad thing. Like, you know, oh, they're not paying attention to what you're doing and blah, blah, blah. But I think there's also an element of like, you're stupid enough to make your own decisions at that point in time. Like,
yeah,
you know it's not real. And the graphics in that game were, like, by today's standard.
Well, that's an interesting point. They were, Keith, as you say, crap for those not inclined in the lingo.
I forget that.
But I think it kind of left a little bit more to your imagination.
Yeah.
I remember one piece of advice I'd have, probably not in the, well, I hate to say they got wrong. Same thing, my mum and dad were never really like, oh, that says it's a 15, it's an 18, you can't be touching that. And this applied to games and films.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if I shared this story on it before. RoboCop came to mind. So I've watched that film as an adult and I was hitting the dry bulk because I was like, this is like, this is so much, like, so violent. But I think with games, and you probably did the same yourself, like, I was able to kind of censure what I liked and didn't like. So I remember Resident Evil coming in, and I am a coward. So how horror games just ain't my jam. And you look at it now, and it's like looking like gravel and mud. Yeah. But my imagination's just in somersaults. It's like, do you know what? I'm not going to play this. I remember one of my dad's friends, his son, he was getting rid of a lot of games, and he just kindly gave them to me. And Resident Evil 2 was one of them. And I remember putting it in for 2 seconds. I was like, nope, like, it's just not for me. And then I moved on to the other game he gave me, which is the Die Hard trilogy, which is fantastic. But I think I'd say to my parents probably like maybe a little bit more of that kind of, because it's something I would apply today. Yeah. But, you know, it's no harm done.
I think it's different now though. Like, if I was speaking to my parents about it now, I don't think I'd have changed anything, because it's not done anything bad to me. You know what I mean? Like, violence in video games and stuff just doesn't mean anything to me anymore. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, it's just another thing. But back then, when you're playing like Grand Theft Auto for the first time, so the top-down perspective, and you're literally just running over yellow characters on the screen. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not part of that I don't even think about that now. Like when I was playing that game, they weren't people. It was just
dots
on the screen. Do you know what I mean? It's no different to Space Invaders where you're shooting things.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? Like, but when you're playing these games now, like if I was to put a child in front of Grand Theft Auto 5 and say, go and do what I was doing in that game, you're mowing down human beings in that game.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, or
I mean, I would feel slightly hypocritical because if I was to give my son Grand Theft Auto 5 and all I'm thinking about is, oh, please don't get the prostitutes because it's just anything blue. Like, violence is one of those things, right? I think it's just because of the point we're just talking about. Like, it probably desensitizes a bit.
Yeah.
And I don't show them anything violent or anything inappropriate because obviously there'll be.
Yeah.
But blue, like, that's my hard line.
I love it. I love it when you say blue because it makes me laugh so much. Like, such a stupid term.
I know.
But it's true though, because that you would do that. Like, I remember playing Grand Theft Auto 3 and all that, and you go and hide in one of the wee bits and stuff. Like, go and take yourself down a wee alley and the car would move. You'd be like, I
know what they're doing.
Or you'd play Grand Theft Auto Vice City or something like that, and you would move the camera. So you press the thumbsticks in the camera, then the camera would move, and you'd see the characters moving and stuff like that. Like, when we were younger, that was so stupid.
That was hilarious.
But it's like, it's such a hilarious concept. But no, I think it's easy enough just to move down the route of just thinking about Grand Theft Auto, because that was the game in our time that pioneered isn't the right word for it, but it was like a bastion of violence. Do you know what I mean? Like, that was the most violent game, and like, you're committing crimes and stuff like that. But it's like, I speak to my wife. My wife's a teacher. She's a primary school teacher, and she's explaining to me that some of the kids in her class, primary 1, have played Grand Theft Auto 5.
Oh my god!
They're playing games like Five Nights at Freddy and stuff like that as well.
That's
like,
just still buying it. Okay.
Yeah. Oh well. But Matthew Lillard's in the film. But it's like there's kids in these classes that are playing these games, and it's like the violence that they're seeing in these games and like the horror and things is a completely different kind of thing than what we were seeing. Like, if I'm playing Resident Evil 2 now on the remake, I'm a bit more concerned about the way that looks, because you're like stabbing characters in the face and like you're shooting them directly in the head and the blood goes.
It's the photorealism of it all now.
I think that's the difference in it, and it's that's become the big issue for me. But for my own parents, it's not. I wouldn't have changed anything because, you know, it's. I liked being able to play those games. Do you know what I mean? Like, there was always something pure taboo about sneaking upstairs with a game like that, or you know, when you were playing one of the SmackDown games and like the wee Trish Stratus loading screen would come up, you'd be like, don't come in. But it was always just something daft about that, and it was those daft wee things, like, you're so innocent at that point that you don't understand it. But we're in an age now, and this is me on the high horse, where we're in an age now where violence and like videos about people getting hurt is just, it's something that if they're scrolling through TikTok or scrolling through anything, any social media, all they're seeing is like these kind of things. Yeah, because there's only been one game that I've played that's made me really think about the amount of violence and stuff that you just go through. And again, we're desensitized completely, especially us. Like, this has been for decades, and it was The Last of Us Part 2. Oh, there's a moment in that game, and I won't say what, just because I don't want to spoil it. There's a moment in that game that really made you go, "Holy shit!" Like, what have I done? Yeah, and it's so. It's bad.
That was a moment when it went up the Richter scale to a 10 for me. But it was.
When in that game though, is like every single character has a purpose. Yeah, and like, when you're grabbing them from behind, you see their face like contort and they're writhing and stuff like that. And it's like, this is actually hard to watch. Yeah. And like, in The Last of Us Part 1, you're just running through and like punching fuck out of every single person that you see. You're shooting them in the face and all that. Like, you're aiming for every single part that you can hit. But in The Last of Us Part 2, it's a bit more personal and you're always up close and stuff like that. And it's brutal. Like, it is. It's absolutely brutal.
I made some notes as well on this topic. I suppose that's kind of veering to what they've done wrong. I think when you look at like what they've done right, I would say, and it does kind of dovetail what you're saying, is it's like not being a day one kid. You know, like, really only the games I can remember getting was either at birthday or Christmas.
Yeah.
It wasn't every birthday and every Christmas, but that's when I can remember getting them. But it always felt special.
Mm-hmm.
And I think one thing I did look back on fondly was kind of like you would swap games or Gizzalania game, as they would say, between friends, cousins, whatnot. And, your pals would have a big brother and they would sit and, oh my God, they're playing Shadows of the Empire. That looks so cool. And you would kind of experience a lot of games, as you said, through osmosis. But building that appreciation in early was that it kept games special, which is something they've done that right. So I take that lesson into what I'm doing now, because I'm like, I have had the thoughts, like with my son he's shown more of an interest in games. I played Minecraft the other day. Dear God, that aged me. Anyhow, he's shown more of an interest, but I'm like, there's a shelf there that has got stacks of PlayStation 5 and Nintendo Switch games, and he could literally, like, if he's 5 years older, this is like, I can play anything that I want pretty much because my old dad's in there. And, it'll be an interesting dynamic. But I thought, am I going to make him feel that games just aren't special? Are they just what are the words I'm looking for? They're not a commodity, they are a commodity. I
had this same issue, and like I think I listened to one of our podcasts the other day and I had this exact same point.
Yeah.
I still don't know the answer. They are a commodity. I think like it's not something that you can kind of throw away.
Yeah.
And it's like there was something really cool about you have your birthday, you get your birthday money and stuff like that, you can go and buy a game. Like
Yep.
I think we've spoken about this already, but like the loss of like physical media and kind of in comparison to like digital media, like taking a game home, reading the box, like looking at the pictures in the box, taking the manual out, reading the manual and stuff like that as well. Like
nothing screamed anticipation of a game more than when me and my cousin used to go into WH Smith of all places. This was in Edinburgh. And we would just look at the boxes in the games.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh my God, it was like Metal Gear Solid Twin Snakes. I remember he was like, really, because he had a GameCube, I didn't, and he was just like really dying to get it. And we would go in every weekend, look at the same boxes of games, read them back to front, and just getting that small hit. And we didn't have YouTube, we didn't have Twitch, we didn't have, because effectively now, if there's a game that you wanted, if I was a kid now, if I wanted it and it was like, oh, my dad says, can I get it? Mom says no.
Yeah.
You could go on YouTube and just watch the entire gameplay of it and still consume it in a very different way. Obviously, you've not got the agency.
Yeah.
But you could still, if you were that hyped on it, experience it in one way or another. Obviously, if you have an internet connection and stuff like that. But it's changed days. But I mean, when I look back at it, that's definitely one thing I think that I would say they got right. And it's making me think, what do I do? And they encouraged it without it being problematic.
Yeah.
Right now, I'll pull on that thread. So, both of us very fortunate in the fact that we're settled, we've got kids, a wife there, and they are priorities. But outside of that, we can play our games, and it might come across as like maybe we play games too much because here we are podcasting about it. But that wasn't always the case. That's that curve.
Yeah,
my gaming time has ramped up. It's ramped down again, but it's ramped up over time. But as a kid, gaming was always an extra thing or something that you did in company, or if you did on a rainy day. But the focus I always remember was go outside.
Yeah,
that was it. I can remember summer holidays. At no point as a kid did I think 6 weeks I'm just going to sit and play, Tekken 3. It's just going to be like
that was you.
I know. It's just going to be.
I was doing that.
It's like 6 weeks of like non-stop PlayStation.
Yeah,
it wasn't. It was literally as soon as the sun was up. I just remember very vividly like the curtains getting open and just like up, and it's just like you get up, you get your breakfast, and you're out.
And
that was it.
I shoot out all day. I was the same. I can't remember a day where I was stuck inside for any reason. There was obviously reasons. Maybe sometimes where. Rain or whatever like that, but you were never in your own house playing your own games. You were usually at mates and stuff like that playing stuff as well. Like I used to spend half my time in my next door neighbour's house. Just like, that's the first time I ever seen Metal Gear Solid was in his house. Sonic Heroes and stuff as well. But I can always remember I used to always just grab a ball and go out and play football for hours, kick a ball off the lockups down the road and just like practice free kicks.
Yeah.
Well, that's literally all I would do. And then that was your reward. You'd go back in, have your dinner, and then just go and play the PlayStation for a bit. Like, it was class.
Yeah.
But it kind of builds that, you know, it's like a reward at the end of the day. It doesn't become too, you know, you're too set in your ways where I'm going to play this and that's all I'm doing today. Like, no.
I mean, like, it presents an interesting challenge because as much as we sound like boomers just sitting here just now saying that back in my day we were outside with a stick and the wheel, it's different now for kids socialising, as we know, because they won't go to each other's houses. I think we talked about this in a previous episode. It was last week. They'll talk online.
Yeah.
And that's happening for the same age. I wouldn't say early and early. It's happening at the same age that we would be in primary school. Yeah. Whereas they're not playing in Game Boys, the Pokemon and all that. They're still, I'm imagining, talking about what happened last night in Fortnite or whatever game they're playing.
Yeah.
But I'll get you online. So there is, and I fully accept there's a social element there that if presented with it, I'm like, right, my son, he's been on that computer for 3 years.
I know.
And it's like, well, do you know what? He's talking to his pals, but that's going to be a challenge. And there's one thing my parents definitely got right, because I wasn't, you know, shut the blinds, played PlayStation all day.
Yeah.
It was, like you says, the reward at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So that's probably something I'd imagine that ourselves and some of our listeners would be thinking about as well.
It's a really tough one because, you know, a lot of my mates when I was growing up, were all in and around where I used to live.
Yeah.
Whereas now,
the young team,
you know, but now you're starting to see people kind of from all over the place. So like, I'm thinking about it from the point of view of like my nephews, for example. So they're in high school now, and a lot of their mates are scattered all around maybe the area they live in, but they also have to travel to get here, travel to get there.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's sometimes the way that they can communicate is online, you know, or it's a really tough balance because you don't want to be, you know, arsehole dad. It's like, get out there and play, because like, if you don't want to do it, you don't want to do it. I know you're not forcing the issue, but
things are different as well.
Yeah,
because,
exactly.
Like, what do they do?
Yeah,
and you as well. Right, I kick them out the house for the day, especially if they're teenagers, and like they're kind of open to the elements a bit.
Yeah,
and I can remember that, like, when I was definitely, I had a, like, by the time I was a teenager, my mum and dad had split up, so I was living with my mum, and I had a lot more of the leash than when I look back on it. Surprising, like, I could have really taken the piss.
Yeah.
But I didn't because I was lazy. But I would still like travel out. You know, I'd have to get a bus to go see my friends and stuff like that. And I, you know, some of the fondest memories I've got is doing that.
Yeah.
But then I'm thinking if I had fallen in with a bad crowd,
yeah,
you know, maybe gaming in that sense could be a positive alternative to like get out.
Yeah,
you know, and
it's
just
true. It's true.
Go.
It's hard because every single generation, not generation, but you know,
yeah,
it's different for them now. Like,
it really is.
When you were growing up, you're obviously only a few years older than me, right? Even though we joke that you're about 20 years older than me, but it's when you were growing up, you were obviously having a different time to me growing up. Whereas my nephews growing up now, they are completely different to the way that I grew up. My daughter is obviously, she's 4 now. When she grows up, who bloody knows what's going on? Like,
no idea.
You're starting to see that more and more. Like, there are kids outside playing football and there's kids outside doing certain things, but that's become like, oh, there's kids actually outside playing football. It's not just something you walk past. It's normal.
It's surprising.
It is. It's a surprise when you see it, or when you see a group of teenagers and stuff like that. Oh, fuck, here we go. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, it's never just they're just out like hanging about. There's always like, what are they up to? Like, are they smoking or like, you know what I mean? But
I did see a guy today. He must have been about 16 tops, and he was walking down the road with a bottle of Buttfast and a belt, and he was just absolutely wasted.
It's like
Thursday night.
Aye,
on yourself.
yeah. It's just, you know, I honestly don't know. I really don't know what the future is going to look like for them. But
it's food for thought,
Yeah.
really. And again, it's been a topic I've kind of enjoyed being thinking about and talking about as well. But I think these are themes that we might definitely come back to.
I think it's natural as
in
time
future.
goes on. Like everything will change, but I think just in terms of what they done good and what they done bad, I can't think of anything bad. Do you know what I mean? Like it was all good for me.
Yeah,
like I
like,
got everything that I wanted out of it, and it never caused me any harm. Like I'm not.
I have to agree. I do have to agree. I think, and with the lucky ones, I know,
Yeah.
I know. Like I had friends that was like, you know, a controller could get locked away,
Yeah.
used as
Yeah.
punishment,
Uh-huh.
all that type of stuff.
And
I
things
told the
like
line.
like I get that you're not watching like certain movies and stuff like that. Like we've been introducing the wee one to Harry Potter, so we've been starting watching that. The Philosopher's Stone is terrible, right? It is so bad. But we watched the Chamber of Secrets last night, and there's wee parts of that are still a bit dark.
Yeah,
like
they are.
they're a bit dark for it, and like just like we'll just fast forward through that.
Oh.
Now you could have easily or just sat there and let her watch it, but you're just trying to protect her from certain things, and eventually,
Absolutely.
you'll watch it and it'll just become like, oh, there's the snake. You know what I mean? Like there's something there, but you do just become desensitized to it. I think the only notes that I made on this were the GTA, sort of the Grand Theft Auto 1 to GTA 5 comparison, where you are literally murdering dots on a screen to actually, mowing down proper human beings in Grand Theft Auto 5.
How could you?
Exactly. And then
I did a speed limit in that game.
and then Mortal Kombat. So the Mortal Kombat early games on the PlayStation, you're playing as Sub-Zero and you rip someone's head out their body, right?
Yeah.
It's it's violent, but it's a cartoon basically.
Yeah.
Whereas now you're playing Mortal Kombat 1 or the more recent Mortal Kombats, and you could literally be Kung Lao sawing someone's body in half. You see like their innards and all that, and the blood spurting out from each side, and the sound effects and the screaming and stuff. It's like
it leaves nothing to the
it
imagination.
leaves absolutely nothing to the imagination. It's frightening. So it's the difficulty now is, these games are hyper realistic, and it's so obvious to that. But then also you have to be wary. So we spoke about it last week, like parental controls and kind of maybe trying to limit what they're watching online and everything else there as well. So it's like it's a completely different world now that we have to live in. So my parents probably didn't have to deal with half as many other things that we were going to have to deal with in the future.
It's definitely got a lot more complicated, but yeah, it's given us a lot of things to think about for sure. But I think it's time that we move on, Scott.
Oh no.
And we know what time it is. It is time for the Pixel Picks Showdown, where each week we pick a game from our chosen theme and decide which one deserves to live on in the hallowed Pixel Picks list, which is our definitive list of the best games we recommend and pass on to the next generation of gamers. So last week's theme was all about the OG Xbox, and it was just
Halo.
Dead easy. Halo Combat Evolved had won that, becoming the latest addition to the list. So well done. So in this week's showdown, we're continuing that theme, and we're going to be debating what best PlayStation 1, PSX, PlayStation game we think should feature on the Pixel Picks list. Now, this one, I think we might end up settling on the same. However, as always, the last week's winner goes last. So I'm going to get comfortable.
Oh, God.
And Scott, let's get to it. What's your honourable mention and what's your pick?
So there's many honourable mentions. I can't leave it at one. The PlayStation 1 has about 400 million titles on it that could literally take this. And I think my first notes, I sent it to you earlier on, but the first notes I made on this topic were absolutely disgusting, because picking one out of this list of games is just impossible. It's impossible.
It's the polar opposite of last week.
So I'm going to just read out the list of games that I made, because I can't not mention them. You know, the entire internet will come for us if we don't. So Tekken 3.
Yep.
It would be on the list if it wasn't already picked.
Okay.
So that's the reason why it's not my choice.
See, I'm worried in case you pick an honourable mention here or something that I'm going to dive into.
No.
Okay.
Resident Evil 2.
Okay, right. Well, I'm a coward. Yeah.
Classic.
It's a classic.
Dino Crisis.
Yep.
Classic. Had its faults, but
Love it.
fantastic.
Love it.
The Soul Reaver.
Yes.
Love it. Legacy of Kain.
Legacy of Kain.
Would play it right now if I could.
Yep.
Silent Hill. Hopefully, we'll get a bit more news about that tonight. Anyway, with the 2 remake, but Silent Hill, absolutely fantastic.
Yep.
Yep. Tony Hawk's 1 and 2.
Yep.
Could go for that. Symphony of the Night.
Yep.
Can't not mention it. Crash Bandicoot games.
100%.
Obviously, I'd pick them, but never really jibed with Crash Bandicoot. I was more a Rayman man, which is now on the list as well.
Rayman man.
Main man. And the final game for the honourable mentions is a game that I only played last year. The Legend of Dragoon. The only reason I never played that sooner is because it priced me out of it. I think when I checked it on eBay, it was about 150 quid or something like that, and it was wild. And then the week after I checked that out, it came out on PlayStation. So
don't you just love it when that happens?
Oh, it's brilliant, and it is fantastic. You know, I'd have lapped that shite up if I'd actually gone to it. So that leaves me with 2.
Right. So the honourable mention, I'm assuming, is next.
The honourable mention.
The
honourable mention. All right. Okay. Well, probably the honourable mention that I should. No, because that then opens up. You know exactly what my pick's going to be.
No, but I have a funny feeling we're going to settle on the same game.
One. Right. So the honourable mention. So the other game on my picks was Final Fantasy VII.
Yep.
Could have been 8. Could have been 9. But Final Fantasy VII is the one that I hold most dear.
Yes.
I don't think I really need to say anything more about that because everyone else that's listened to the podcast in the last
we've kind of covered
900
that,
episodes, it's been covered to death. But absolutely changed the game.
Yeah.
The reason why I love JRPGs. I would pick if it wasn't 7, it'd be 8, and if it wasn't 8, it'd be 9. But there you go. But the only game I could have picked is Metal Gear Solid. It can't be anything else.
A Hideo Kojima game.
Really can't be anything else. Anyone that knows anything about me knows that I love Metal Gear Solid. I literally soak everything up about that franchise in a sponge and will insert it directly.
He's not lying.
Into my face.
I've witnessed it.
It's honestly like thinking about playing it again, just on the Master Collection. Like, we could leave this podcast right now, boot that game up, and I could finish that game in the next hour. Do you know what I mean? Like,
might actually.
It's honestly like, it's just a perfect game.
Look, cards on the table. That's my pick as well. So
does that mean I win? Because I said it first.
I think I'm going to be a gentleman and say yes. I think so. Because, this winning's getting tiresome. Do you know what I mean? Oh, I've got to put these trophies down. You know what I mean? But yeah, I think, and I say that because I think we should dive into it. My honourable mentions,
okay,
right, was Oddworld Dave's Odyssey.
Yep.
Which is a game that I hold near and dear to my heart. You could fart in that game.
I know, I was going to say that's it, aye.
And Spider-Man.
Yes.
Spider-Man PS1 is one of... See, when you look at the amount of deep cuts and comic references they had and the way that they nailed the characters, and it was all packaged together perfectly. It just arrived at the perfect moment. They absolutely nailed it, and I think it is still one of the best superhero games ever made.
Yeah.
Not the best, but it's an honourable mention. I nearly picked Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2, but I did that weeks ago, so I thought not do that. But how else could we not pick Metal Gear Solid?
Yeah,
it
is. When I think about the PlayStation 1, it's the Metal Gear Solid box. You know what I mean? Like, it's just that's the only thing I'll play on it. It's what a game, man! Like,
I have never ever seen anything like it at that point, and when it came out, I was completely bewildered and blown away because it was blowing my mind. Before that, it was just like platforming games and fighting games and all that stuff. Then something like this cinematic, absolute masterpiece comes out of nowhere. You used to sit for ages as a kid like, what does tactical espionage actually mean? You know what I mean? Like, what is this? And then, of course, there's the obvious things like the Psycho Mantis fight.
Yes.
What just became overnight playground lore. You know, it's like, have you tried this? And it's like, what are you talking about? And you go home and you do it, and it's like, oh my God. And I remember first experiencing that game. It was at my cousin's actually,
Yeah.
and he was the same. I mean, if he's listening, he'll know exactly what it is. But it's like just even watching that game as well.
Yeah.
It's either playing it. I didn't play it till years later, but I mean, it was unbelievable. Like it was the first time you could actually just be really invested in a story. I remember.
Yeah.
And
I think it's the thing for me is that I can remember where I was when I played it for the first time.
Mhm.
With any other of the games on the list, they're just all lumped in together. But Metal Gear Solid is the one that sticks with me because, as I said, I played it at my neighbour's house and I watched him play it for the first time, and I was like, "What is this?" I mean, I didn't even see it from the start. I think I saw it from just before the cyborg ninja fight. And I was just
So
like,
good.
I need this. I need this in my life. Sparked, 1998 that game came out.
Yep.
So it sparked a 20, 30 odd year relationship with that game. It's incredible.
I mean, if you were to tell me, if you would put that on paper,
yeah,
like here's the game,
mm-hmm.
it's going to feature, all around espionage, and it's going to kind of government conspiracy, you name it, and it's going to take place all in one location with a cast of zany characters,
Mm-hmm.
and kind of take itself seriously to the point where it's almost like, I wouldn't say humorous, but it's almost a pastiche, and it's like, this shouldn't work.
No,
it shouldn't work, but it does because and it's so convoluted, but you can't get enough of it. There's something about it, and still to this day, it's utterly captivating.
Yeah, as I say, I played it recently. So when the Master Collection came out, that was the first game that I thought I need to play that the whole way through. And it's the first time I've ever played it on the hardest difficulty with it as well. And it is incredible. Like all the wee tactics, trying to play it like a speedrun and stuff as well. Like, but just playing the story again. Like, I experienced that story for the first time, and when you're young and stuff, it's you understand parts of it.
Yeah, but you miss the nuance.
Don't really care about the lore or anything.
Yeah,
and having obviously become resident Metal Gear Solid in my own house,
and on this podcast,
it's just one of those games where there's something new every single time that I pick up from it.
Yeah,
and I mean, David Hayter acting out of his skin. Oh man, honestly, it gives me chills thinking about playing it again because the music. Yeah,
my God,
the best is yet to come. Even the bit in Metal Gear Solid 4 when you go back to Shadow Moses, it genuinely makes the hairs on my neck stand up thinking about it.
It was so earned.
When you walk in, the snow and the kind of fog dissipates, and just the wee whistle starts playing, and then the music the whole way through, and it's just like, oh my God, I'm so nostalgic for this game. And then you go back and play it, and it's like, holy Christ, it is so good. You've got Master Miller in there as well. Never knew who Master Miller was. You find out about him in about 4 or 5 games later, but now he's just like this beloved character in the series. Like, my God, it's so good. And it's like going back and playing it with fresh eyes, but after playing all the series, it's something I would recommend to anyone. Like I could pass that game on, and I'd be happy to tell someone, go and play this PlayStation 1 game. If you've never played anything before in your life, this would be the game that I'd pick to say, go and play that. I like to think of a scenario where aliens drop, right?
Right.
And this is a question that I'll put to you. This is a question that I'll put to you, and I'll put it on social media, right? This is a TikTok video, and I'm telling everyone this is a TikTok video. Not to do with games. We'll make it about games in a minute, right?
Okay.
So, aliens come down, and they say, to save your planet, you have to pick one song for us to listen to. Right? This song has to be good enough for it to save your entire planet. What would you pick?
I mean, to be honest with you, at this point, all I'm thinking is bloody Baby Shark. But I'm not sure. And you know me, like I have a lot
of
musicality here. So
my choice, if it helps you in the matter, was Freebird by Leonard Skinner.
Right. Okay.
It would be that. Like, I couldn't think of anything else. It's the song that even if it were to go down, if they thought that this is shite, I'd be happy to make that the last song that I ever listened to.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean? But if aliens came down and they said, we're destroying this planet, unless you show us a video game that we need to play, Metal Gear Solid would be that game.
And they would enjoy it too.
They would love it.
That's the thing. So where's the second one? What do you mean he's not in it? No.
Yes.
He is. I can remember like the same thing happened though. From Metal Gear Solid 1 to Metal Gear Solid 2, experiencing it not firsthand at a friend's house, and I still think Metal Gear Solid 2 is one of the best looking games ever made. It holds up so well.
Even now.
Yeah,
like, it's incredible, aye.
But come back to Metal Gear Solid 1, I mean, bravo, Hideo Kojima, all the flowers. There couldn't be any other game we put in this category this week. I would be annoyed with myself if I tried, to be honest. So, congratulations.
What's your alien game, though?
My alien game?
Aye.
Oh, Tetris. Always Tetris, mate.
Just so they never stop playing it.
That's it. Distracted to the moon. No, always Tetris in that one. But yeah, so that brings us to the end of this week's podcast. Another one done, Scott. So
in the bag.
Thank you once again, everybody, for joining us. And if you like what you hear, enjoy the podcast, of course, leave us a 5-star review. It helps us and makes a massive difference. You can find myself online at Carmelite. Scott, where can they find you?
Oh, no, he does it every single week and I never remember.
Quick draw.
Llama 91 in it.
He's got it again, folks. He's remembering.
2 in a row.
And of course, thank you to our producer and our music man, the talented and ever so handsome Mr. Sean Murray. So handsome.
So handsome.
We love you, Sean. And of course, you can listen to the next episode on all major podcast platforms. And you can also check out the Pixel Reacts episodes on there as well. And of course, follow us on Twitter at pixel_parents, or write into us as well at pixelparentspodcast@gmail.com. But until next time, stay safe, stay sane, and thanks for listening.
Play Alan Wake 2.